new photographer and you're stressing over how many photos that you should be giving to your clients, today we're going to do a little bit of math, regardless of whether your clients are couples, corporate, or crazy cat ladies. Now, it's not simply a numbers game because the answer kind of depends. So today I'll show you a framework so that you can work it out for any kind of client so that you feel 100% confident in your offerings. Now, first things first, put away the calculator and step away from the quadded maths book, okay? Now, before we even start, I'm going to say that there's a lot of photographers that work on right and wrong. In other words, this is right and this is wrong. But today what I want to do is give you guys the tools to make these decisions for yourself in your own business. Because last week's video about industry standards that really rubbed me the wrong way, it got me thinking, what else are we doing that's industry standard without actually considering the implications of what it means to us? So I'm going to flip the script completely today, and what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the benefits to the client rather than just the numbers. And you may even find that you run your business a little bit differently after this. So let's get into 7 of the whys of why people want photography in the first place. And at the very end, we'll do a little bit of actual math so that you can have some tangible deliverables, because I don't really want to leave you in airy fairyland. And as we go through, I'll give you guys a few marketing tips of how I would approach things so that you can understand how you would put that across to your customers through your marketing. Or, so if somebody asks you or challenges you about the way that you do things, you can feel really confident and comfortable about the solution that you chose for your business. Number 1 is the time capsule, and this covers things like weddings or births or like grandma's 70th birthday. Things that are a true snapshot in time, the good, the bad, and all the bits in between. And I think this works best for people who love documentary and storytelling style photography. And it could even be for kids sessions if you're anything like me, and I enjoy doing the wildling sessions, and I love just seeing kids be themselves and run around and capturing that moment in time. You're not just delivering a set of pretty pictures, you're creating a time capsule of a family's history. It's not just a snapshot of one day, it's part of a family legacy. Think about it when someone in your family passes. What is it that you're going to want to keep? I can guarantee you that the majority of it is going to be photos, jewelry, and family heirlooms, because those things tell the story of who you are and where you came from. And your client's wedding or 70th birthday or birth story is exactly the same thing. Whether your clients realize it or not, these photos are actually meant to outlive them. People might hire you for the gallery, but what they're really buying is a time capsule of their lineage. So for me, a time capsule is a really candid snapshot in time, right? So you, as the client, are going to get as many good photos that I can possibly give you. Like, it's not up to me to curate this. This is the raw version of your day for your lineage. It's context shots and little moments, not just hero shots. In my wedding photography, for example, this is how I would communicate this to my clients, either through my website, my welcome pack, or talking to them directly. I take a lot of photos, and I expect that there'll be like half a dozen that you absolutely fall in love with, and they're the ones that you're going to want to like print and put up on your wall. Then I expect that there'll be about 50 to 100 that you really like, and those would be the ones that you would end up putting into, say, a wedding album, for example. And the rest will be a mix of like different expressions, because who am I to tell you which micro expression is the favorite one that you have of your partner? And then there'll be lots of black and white photos, because I'm quite obsessed with black and white photos. And then candid photos of the day. And you might even be sitting there going with a couple of those photos, why on earth did the photographer include this? It's probably, if you look a little bit closer, because Uncle Bob was somewhere like in the background going like, and being an absolute geek, being Uncle Bob. And as silly as that sounds, I want you to have those memories too, because it's not always about what's happening in the foreground. Sometimes it's about the chaos in the background. And I'm human, so there is always going to be a little bit of human error, but I'm not the kind of person to let ego get in my way. If I have taken a photo and it's not the best technically great photo, but it's something that I think that is going to add to the story of your day, I will still put that in. So expect that the majority of them will be good, solid photos, and that there will be a couple popped in at the end that are just a few extras. Oh, and those crazy photos of you laughing, I'm not even putting them in for you. I'm putting them in for your mum, because she's going to like me a little bit more, because us mums, we like crazy photos of our kids. And just as a last note on this, I mean, how often do people hire, like regular people, hire professional photographers to follow them around for the entire day? Like, just take that into consideration for a minute too. If somebody's hired you for a wedding day, they're not going to do that very often. Like, we do photography professionally, we're always out there doing something for somebody, but the people on the receiving end of this, probably not the type of people that have professional photographers following them around everywhere. So just look at it from their perspective too, that it's a really nice thing for a whole day just to be special and get a gallery that's special. So in other words, this is the type of gallery that you want to give and not gatekeep. Number 2 is the highlights and milestones, and think of this a little bit like the curated version of the time capsule. So this is your Instagram worthy moments, and this is a lot more controlled. This isn't like the time capsule where you're sort of standing back and documenting what's happened. A lot of the times when you're doing these milestones, you're actually going in there and directing it a little bit more. This is the kind of thing where the photographer will provide outfits or make them available to you. So for instance, when I did a kids mini shoot a couple of years ago, I had a couple of like red and white dresses that were available for the girls that came round because I was doing a kids Christmas mini shoot. So it was very controlled and very specific, and I knew exactly what I was trying to get from it. And this is the type of thing that you do a curated gallery of the best images, and then normally you would sell the session and 10 photos as part of a package, and then if they want to buy more, that they can, like they go up and buy the next tier and the next tier, as I talked about in my last video. It's not my favorite way of doing it, but this is how that more curated highlight reel kind of photography sort of pulls together. So this might cover things also like a first birthday cake smash session, for example, or baby photos in the studio, or a I'm turning 50 sort of celebration type shoot. You get the idea. They're more controlled, more specific, and you're giving them the best of those photos. And you can also apply this concept to weddings. So some people, like the people that want the time capsule, are more about the day. They're more about all the people that are coming along and sharing the food and basically having one big family gathering. But then you have people on the other side that want to be the star of their own wedding, which is fine, but this is where you're going to be wanting to get into more curated looks and directing things a little bit more, because they might want 200 photos rather than whatever you're able to provide, but they want those 200 photos to look like they've stepped out of a magazine. They want to look like it's a Hollywood wedding. So this is another type of package that, if that's the style that you want to provide for clients, there are clients out there that will want that. But there are also clients out there that will want more of a time capsule style shoot as well. The one bonus of doing these curated galleries is that your portfolio can look amazing, but it also does mean that you do have to get better at directing people and things like that, because you're going to be going to the location, you're going to be finding the best places to take those photos, and you're going to be guiding the couple throughout the day. So when you're communicating this to your potential clients, you need to be very specific. Are you the type of person that is going to be creating this curated Instagram worthy, could make a magazine out of it style wedding? Because that means that the couple really has to work with you. You're not doing documentary, you're doing like, you're working with them kind of like their models. So they're going to have to give you more of their day to be able to do those style of photos. Or you have the more documentary style, which is more like standing in the background, not really getting involved very much, very minimal amount of directing people and more of capturing the day. So that's something to keep in mind, that if you're doing the documentary style, you can probably get away with a lot more photos. But if you're doing those really highly curated style ones, you're probably only being expected to provide 200 to 300 photos, but they will be exceptional. So by understanding the distinctions between these two very different clients, they're both wedding clients, but they both have very different expectations, you can start to understand how much needs to be given to the client at the end. Number 3 is coverage and marketing. And this mainly applies to events, like at a corporate level, because what they're actually buying is more of evidence of participation in the atmosphere and key highlights. Think of this more like a branding exercise than an event for the sake of the event. So like fundraisers or corporate events, or when the ladies go to the races and they wear the fascinators and the pretty hats. It's more about who's going to be seen at these events and the event itself, rather than what the event's actually for. And unlike the more documentary style storytelling of our time capsule, where you're kind of standing back and things like that, with this type of photography, you would be going up to people and getting more candid shots. But the trick here is that they're kind of more posed candid shots. and they're potentially showing in the background the company logo of the people that are hosting the event or where the event is being held and things like that. So this is more like marketing photography rather than just, hey, come along and enjoy the event kind of photography. Now, obviously you'd discuss this with the client, but the idea is that these would look candid, but be more staged, because sponsors and organizers want to see their product placement or their logo in those photos. They want to see that their investment was visible. And then the people going, like the attendees, they want to be able to go and look this up on Facebook and see that they're in a photo or two. It's basically proof that the event happened and who was there. And then it's partly marketing, either internal or external within the company. So the point to this is that they are not going to be looking for 1,000 photos to be going through. They want to see that you've already done the culling and that you were the professional on the night that made sure that you got photos of everything, all the logos, everything that was important for their brand and their marketing. So really you need to speak to the client before to see if they have a set number of photos as part of their deliverables, and to make sure that you're both on the same page about how many photos that's realistically going to be. What they're really looking for from you is efficiency and professionalism. So they're looking for you to give a culled, professional looking gallery that ticks all the boxes that they needed. Number 4 is efficiency and curation, and this is more to do with business photography. If you're working for a business doing a specific marketing campaign, they may want one hero shot. You might take 3,000 photos over 3 days. They don't care. What they care about is that front page of Vogue. What they care about is that billboard in Times Square. So this is one that's kind of opposite to most of the other photography styles, where you're getting a certain amount and you're giving a certain amount. In this particular instance, you're going to be looking at doing 1 to 10 probably images specifically for the company, and it doesn't matter how many photos you take, that's your entire deliverable, because they're after the photo, not lots to choose from. And a great example of this is Peter McKinnon's insane capture for Red Bull of 2 planes with Red Bull logos on them either side of an eclipse. The behind the scenes of this is absolutely insane. These guys spent weeks planning this out. They hired planes, they got all the logos made, they put lights under the planes, they did all the weather, they did test runs, and it didn't look like it was going to happen. It was absolutely insane what they did. And on the almost the very last second, Peter managed to capture it. It was really touch and go, but I would say this was a $50,000 shoot by the time they hired the planes and the pilots and the photographers, because they had more than one photographer there. This would have been a minimum probably of $500,000 for a single photo. And I'll leave the link to that video in the description, because if you want a bit of inspiration, that one's it. Now, when it comes to business photography, I think you're going to fall into one of 3 camps. You're going to have something like a lifestyle photography business. So this is like small businesses where it's about the person. And for a lot of people, this could actually fall into the highlights and milestones kind of category, actually. Because if you're just starting out your very first business, that is a very big deal. And if you're the face of that business, then this could actually be more than just, oh, I need some shots for my website. This is also about capturing a moment in your time, a moment in the business owner's time. Then the other 2 camps fall into this efficiency and curation sort of model, where they're looking specifically for either product shots. Maybe they want like 3 or 4 product shots of each product. So then you might be giving them, say, 100 photos, but that's because they have 20 products that they wanted you to take 5 photos of each. So again, it's a very specific deliverable, and that's the kind of thing where you wouldn't put it in a gallery. You'd actually do that like Google Drive or Dropbox or something, and you'd put each individual item into its own file, and then put all the photos that belong to that specific product into that file. So those aren't specifically delivered by a gallery. And then of course you have the other end of it, where these people are looking for a singular photo or a specific small set of photos for a specific marketing campaign. And basically what you need to do in this case is take all the emotion out of it, because they're looking for a very specific outcome for a very specific purpose. And they're often willing to pay more for this because you have to craft the perfect video. So they might pay you $20,000 because you've got to hire the lights and hire the models and hire the studio space. So I think this one really falls into that exception to the rule, because you won't be judged on the gallery that you're able to provide for them. You're going to be judged on the 1 to 10 specific images that they were looking for that campaign. And you might be going backwards and forwards with the client on this to get exactly what they had in mind. And basically they're looking to you as the professional to do the first round of culling and curation and provide it to them and not waste their time. Number 5 is status seekers and aesthetic first clients. So if you're working with influencers, they're going to be looking for a mix of quality and quantity. They're basically looking for social ready, polished, high impact images. And they're looking for highly curated, on brand, and still making it look like it was effortless. They're almost going for quantity of difference. You might be in the same place, but they might want 10 different angles so it makes it look like they're in 10 different places. So think of it like there might be a lot of location or outfit change to be able to get that really diverse gallery to be able to put up on their social media. So in this case, once again, it's kind of about talking specifically to the client and what they expect, but then you can also set up your own boundaries if you wanted to. If you're like, okay, we're going to do 5 locations, you've got 2 hours, you can change outfits at every single one. I will get as many photos as I can and as many different angles, and I will give you everything that is social media ready. And when you've done this a few times, you might absolutely be able to say, right, I can get 20 photos at every location. So we've got 5 locations, that's 100 photos. Or maybe it'll be 10 photos at every location. So this is up to you to do this a couple of times. If this is what you're interested in, do this a couple of times, get used to it, and then be able to go, right, from my experience, this is what I'm able to provide. Number 6 is proof and evidence. And this is the kind of clients, and it might be a little bit boring, but it's things like insurance or real estate or politics or legal stuff. Basically anything that you can take the emotion out of, because it's purely for documentation purposes. You need to show like exactly what's there, no major editing. You're just representing exactly what you saw for somebody else. So again, these guys are going to be looking for a very specific, very curated, ready to go kind of gallery. This isn't the kind of work that you come in and take a bunch of shots and just see what goes well. This is the kind of work where you've probably got the time to slow down, be very specific. You may not even need to take a lot of shots if you nail them correctly. And then you might pick out the best dozen and send them through. So you don't need thousands of photos. You just need to get them good, solid photos of exactly what it is that you're seeing. And lastly, number 7, art and wall piece clients. Their emotional driver is, I want a showpiece. They're looking for like one photo or a small set of photos that are going to be the showpiece on their wall. This is the kind of piece where you would probably go into a studio to do this. This is where you're getting into fine art territory. This is a legacy item. This is not the kind of thing that's going to go into an album. This is not the kind of thing that you're going to send through in a gallery. This is one perfect photo. This is the kind of thing where you would set everybody up. Everything would be perfect. Everything would be posed. Everything would be staged, and you would take a small amount of photos, and then the clients would go away and you would call them back in a couple of days later and they would sit with you on the couch and you would show them the curated half a dozen pictures that they could choose from. And then you would meticulously go through that one and you would make sure that every square inch of it was perfect, and you would do the printing and the framing, and that would be the end product that's provided. So in this particular instance, you're only looking at one. Or like if they've got 3 kids and they want 3 separate portraits, for example, then you would create 3 separate portraits. But you get the idea. This is specifically to go on the wall. If you understand the emotional drivers, you're going to understand how many photos are going to be of value to that client. Now, there will absolutely be more categories than this, and there are definitely styles of photography and types of photography that I haven't mentioned in this video. But they generally fall into one of 4 categories. Number 1 is legacy. This is your time capsule, your family, your weddings, a moment of your children, things that are going to be handed down for generations. Number 2 is aspirational. This is all about status. It's very curated. It's more of a premium service. Number 3 is functional. You're providing proof. It's for corporate work, and you're very efficient, and you're very efficient on their behalf as well for their time. And number 4 is artistic. Storytelling, fine art, and something worthy of putting on your wall. So by understanding what's important to them, you can start understanding the numbers. So if it's personal or legacy, they're probably going to want to look through this time and time again. So you're probably looking at about 70 to 100 per hour of shooting. If it's aspirational, you're probably looking at delivering 30 to 50 per hour of shooting because you're only giving them the best. And if it's business, they're probably looking to spend no more than 10 minutes on it, and then they want to get on with the rest of their day. So by providing something extremely efficiently, you're providing them with value. And they'll appreciate your abbreviated gallery rather than too many options. And if it's fine artwork, then most of the time will be spent choosing which image and making sure that it's perfect for them. Now, there's always exceptions to the rule, but if you are solid in the package that you want to provide for your clients, it's going to be a lot less confusion. And obviously, always have in the contract what the deliverables actually are so that nobody can come back on you. Don't just assume that everybody's on the same page. Because, for example, you might find a business that wants the complete opposite. Maybe they want to see all of your photos and make those decisions themselves, because some people want more control. And that's okay. So that's why I want to reiterate that you need to know your packages and why you're providing them. If you understand the emotional drivers behind these packages, you'll be able to know if a client is a right fit for you or not. And you'll be able to communicate your packages and your value more articulately. So if you want to do storytelling photography and be able to provide large, timeless galleries, and then somebody comes to you wanting a high-end shoot, you're gonna know that those two things aren't compatible. And that's okay, because you can have both types of wedding photography. But by you knowing exactly the type that you want to be doing, you're also gonna be helping your clients, because they're gonna look at you and go, yes, you're the right fit for me, or no, you're not. And again, all of this comes back down to, how do you want to run your business? A quick bit of math. For an 8-hour wedding day, I will take close to 3,000 photos. Now, a lot of those photos are burst photos or double ups, or I'm gonna move the dress like an inch to the left kind of photos. And I aim to deliver around about 100 photos for every hour that I'm there, which is where I get the 800 photos for a day from. And they're not all hero shots. Like, some of them are behind the scenes shots, some of them are black and white. Some of them are detail shots, some of them are giggling kids, some of them are wide shots, some of them close-ups, you know. It's a very big mix that I'm putting into my wedding galleries. But then I also went to an event recently where in about 2 hours I got over 2,000 images, and truthfully, not a lot of great ones. And I'm hoping to deliver between about 50 to 100, and a lot of that was to do with the fact that it was dark, so I had to have my settings done differently, and there was a ton of kids and there was a lot of chaos, and everywhere I turned someone was moving, so there was a lot of moving parts. But I knew that I just had to keep clicking and then pick the best from them. So the more chaos, the more clicks, in my opinion. When I do kids minis for a half-hour shoot, I get between 300 and 500 shots. And once again, that's because I'm dealing with kids and I ask them to do movement. I get them to twirl, so I'm doing a lot of burst shots and stuff. But that generally gives me a gallery between 30 and 50 really lovely images. And I've learned that it's really important to know your ratios. I know that out of 1,000 photos, I'll get one really awesome photo that I'm so proud of. And then I'll get 10 that are really good, but they don't quite have the X factor of that like one photo. And then I'll get about another 50 to 100 that I'm like, yeah, those are good. I can give them to the clients. And then I'll probably get about another 100 that I'm like, yes, those are good enough. So I understand my numbers. I understand how much I have to shoot for my ratio of what I'm going to get out of it. But I also understand the niches that I'm in. So for example, because I'm dealing with kids and there's a lot of movement, I know that I have a higher click rate than, say, somebody that's in a studio that's having people pose. And I would expect that my numbers would look a lot better if I was in a controlled situation. And I hope that my numbers get better as I become more of a seasoned professional. So consider your math and then work backwards from that on how many photos that you need to take to achieve the outcome that you'd like to give to your clients. And always consider what these photos will mean to your client before you even start. And if you missed last week's episode about some of the other industry standards that rub me the wrong way, you'll be able to check it out here. But for now, thank you for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you stayed this long, because it does actually let YouTube know to share this out to a few more people. And I will see you guys in the next episode.